मीडिया वेव्स टीवी तो खबरां दा लेखा जोखा प्रोग्राम दे विच आप सब दा स्वागत है जी आयां नूं।
Khabran Da Lekha Jokha September 9, 2024 has been sponsored by Hanif Litigation. Any criminal or regulatory law matters, contact lawyer Shahid Hanif at Hanif Litigation 604-626-3144. Air Canada heading for orderly shutdown as labour dispute with pilots continues over wages. Air Canada says it's preparing to suspend most of its operations if a deal is not reached with the union, representing more than 5,000 pilots. The airline issued a statement on Monday saying that while talks with the Airline Pilots Association are active and ongoing, both sides remain far apart in negotiations. If a bargaining agreement is not reached by Sunday, September 15th, the airline said either party would be authorized to issue a 72-hour strike or lockout notice, triggering Air Canada's 3-day wind down plan. This would see Air Canada and Air Canada's route gradually suspending flights, potentially as early as Sunday. Air Canada and Air Canada operate an average of close to 670 daily flights, which carry more than 110,000 passengers. Last month, the ALPA announced that 98% of its members voted in favor of achieving a new contractual agreement with Air Canada. The employees have been negotiating with Air Canada since June of 2023. Air Canada believes there is still time to reach an agreement with our pilot group, provided ALPA moderates its wages demands, which far exceed average Canadian wage increases, said Michael Rosal, President of Chief Executive Officer of Air Canada. However, Canadians have recently seen the chaos abrupt airline shutdowns cause of troubles, which obliges us to do everything we can to protect our customers from an increasingly likely work stoppage. This includes the extremely difficult decision to begin an orderly shutdown of Air Canada and Air Canada route once a 72-hour strike or lockout notice is given, possibly as early as this Sunday. Air Canada has proposed a 30% wage increase for its more than 5,000 pilots over the next 3 years. The union has said it wants salaries commensurate with the U.S. counterparts. On Monday, Air Canada said talks with the ALPA were nearing an impasse over the union's excessive wage demands. The airline stated that in the event of a strike, Air Canada Express flights would continue to operate. Still, Air Canada noted that those regional partners only carry about 20% of its daily customers. Under the airline's policy, customers with tickets for travel between September 15 and 23 can rebook on any other Air Canada flight with the same origin and destination up to November 30th at no additional cost. Customers who want to cancel and rebook their travel after their date will have their change fees waived, but will have to pay any difference in the fare. If necessary, the airline says it will expand its goodwill policy around changes and cancellations beyond September 23rd. We understand and apologize for the inconvenience this would cause for customers. However, a managed shutdown in the only responsible course available to us, added Rosal. We are publicizing our plans to give the more than 110,000 people who travel with us each day greater certainty and the opportunity to reduce the risk of being stranded by using our goodwill policy to change or defer imminent travel at no cost. We are also alerting the Government of Canada to the potential disruptions impact upon Canadians. The potential job action is the latest development in a summer full of Canadian travel interruptions. WestJet was forced to cancel more than 1,000 flights after mechanics went on strike before July 1st.
एयर कनेडा ਦੇ 5000 ਦੇ ਕਰੀਬ ਪਾਇਲਟਸ ਨੇ 15 ਤਰੀਕ ਤੋਂ 15 ਸਤੰਬਰ ਤੋਂ ਸਟ੍ਰਾਈਕ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ। ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਬੰਦ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ। ਯਾਦ ਰਹੇ 15 ਸਤੰਬਰ ਨੂੰ 72 ਘੰਟੇ ਦਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਨੋਟਿਸ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ। ਅਗਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਦੋਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਰਮਿਆਨ ਐਮਪਲੋਇਰ ਤੇ 에ਅਰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ EMPLOYE ਯੂਨੀਅਨ ਦੇ ਦਰਮਿਆਨ ਕੋਈ ਸਹਿਮਤੀ ਨਾ ਹੋ ਸਕੀ, ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 1,10,000 ਦੇ ਕਰੀਬ ਯਾਤਰੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ 에ਅਰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੀਆਂ ਫਲਾਈਟਸ ਦਾ ਵਰਤੋਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। 670 ਦੇ ਕਰੀਬ ਫਲਾਈਟਸ ਨੇ 에ਅਰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਰੋਜ਼ਾਨਾ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਔਰ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਵੱਡੀ ਪੱਧਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਆਵਾਜਾਈ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਦਖਲ ਅੰਦਾਜ਼ੀ ਹੋਏਗੀ, ਭਾਵ ਗੜਬੜ ਹੋਏਗੀ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਸੂਚਿਤ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ 15 ਸਤੰਬਰ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ 23 ਸਤੰਬਰ ਤੱਕ ਦੀ ਅਗਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਡਾਨ ਬੁੱਕ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਿਨਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਜੁਰਮਾਨੇ ਦੇ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਡੇਟ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਤਬਦੀਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਲਈ। ਪਰ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਉੱਧਰੋਂ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਦੀ ਉਮੀਦ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਦੋਵੇਂ ਧਿਰਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਸਹਿਮਤੀ ਤੇ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਜਾਣਗੀਆਂ, ਅਗਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ 15 ਸਤੰਬਰ ਤੋਂ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਦੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਫਲਾਈਟਸ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਿਰੰਤਰ ਕਮੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਜਾਵਾਂਗੇ।
Mediated talks aimed at resolving Metro Vancouver accessible transit strike stall. The union representing handed out workers in Metro Vancouver says it won't be getting a counter proposal to end the strike until at least Thursday. Amalgamated Transit Union Locals 1724 says officials from the employer Transdev left mediation talks at the Labour Board just after 8 p.m. Sunday to consider the union's latest proposal. The union says it was informed through the mediator that Transdev won't be able to meet and provide a counter proposal until September 12th, while the ATU says it was willing to negotiate around the clock. It says it plans to hold a rally this Tuesday in front of the office of TransLink, the agency responsible for transit in Metro Vancouver. Handed out workers walked off the job last week to fight for a fair contract after turning down Transdev's last contract offer. It offers door-to-door service to people who are unable to navigate the conventional transit system. But the strike has brought an end to all service with the exception of some essential medical trips. Local union president Joe McCann said the union was cautiously optimistic a deal could be done ahead of Sunday's mediated talks with their employer, but members are prepared to stay on strike as long as it takes. As the negotiations continue, long-time handed-out users are also watching closely. Lynn Johnston says she relies handed-out for most of her transportation needs and she has been taking conventional transit to attend her doctor's appointments due to the strike, which has been a horrible experience. Johnston says her heart goes out to many customers who have been left stranded at home by the strike, and she also hopes the mediated talks can bring about a fair resolution for the drivers who work hard and generally care about their customers.
ਹੈਂਡੀਕੈਪ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਸਟ੍ਰਾਈਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਮੀਦ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਵੀਕਐਂਡ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ EMPLOYERS ਤੇ ਯੂਨੀਅਨ ਦੇ ਦਰਮਿਆਨ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇ, ਜਿਸ ਦੀ ਕਿ ਕਾਫੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਪੱਧਰ ਤੇ ਉਮੀਦ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਸੀ। ਔਰ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਦਾ ਸਪਸ਼ਟੀਕਰਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਯੂਨੀਅਨ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਵੀ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਉਮੀਦ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਐਤਵਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਗੱਲ ਕਿਤੇ ਨੇਪਰੇ ਚੜ ਜਾਏਗੀ, ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਟ੍ਰਾਈਕ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਵੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜਾਰੀ ਰੱਖਣੀ ਪਵੇ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੂਰੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਤਿਆਰ ਹਾਂ। ਪਰ ਯਾਦ ਰਹੇ ਹੁਣ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ EMPLOYER ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੱਕ ਇਹ ਸੁਨੇਹਾ ਪਹੁੰਚਿਆ ਕਿ ਨੈਗੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਬਾਰੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ 12 ਤਰੀਕ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕੇਗੀ। ਔਰ ਹੈਂਡੀਕੈਪ ਦੀਆਂ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੱਡ ਬੀਤੀ ਦਰਸਾਉਂਦੇ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਲੋੜੀਂਦੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਏ ਹੋਏ ਵਿਘਨ ਤੋਂ ਉਹ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਅਸੰਤੁਸ਼ਟ ਹਨ।
Kate, Princess of Wales, says she'll return to public duties. Kate, the Princess of Wales, says she has completed chemotherapy and will return to some public duties in the coming months. The 42-year-old wife of Prince William is expected to undertake a light program of engagements until the end of the year. She announced in March that she was being treated for an undisclosed type of cancer. The princess, who has acknowledged that she has good days and bad days while undergoing treatment, last appeared in public for the men's final of Wimbledon in July. She appeared moved by the standing ovation she received. Life, as you know, it can change in an instant, and we have had to find a way to navigate the stormy waters and road unknown, she said in the video, which was shot at a forest and included images of the whole family. The cancer journey is complex, scary, and unpredictable for everyone, especially those closest to you, she said. With humility, it also brings you face to face with your own vulnerability in a way you have never considered before, and with that, a new perspective on everything.
मेला तो खबरां पहुंचियां ने कि प्रिंसस ऑफ वेल्स केट अगाऊ ਸਮਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਨਿਭਾਉਣਗੇ। ਯਾਦ ਰਹੇ 42 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਦੀ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਪ੍ਰਿੰਸ ਵਿਲੀਅਮ ਦੀ ਪਤਨੀ ਨੂੰ ਕੈਂਸਰ ਤੋਂ ਪੀੜਤ ਸੀ ਔਰ ਉਸਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਕੀਮੋਥੈਰੇਪੀ ਦੇ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜਰਨੀ ਹੈ ਕੈਂਸਰ ਦੇ ਵਕਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਬਿਆਨਬਾਜ਼ੀ ਸਪਸ਼ਟ ਤੇ ਸਿੱਧੇ ਲਫ਼ਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਹੁਣ ਉਹ ਵਾਪਸ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਡਿਊਟੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵੱਲ ਵਾਪਸ ਛੇਤੀ ਪਰਤਣਗੇ।
Surrey City Council is about to push the provincial government to allow a municipality to have non-independence. Mayor Brenda Locke says having its own charter would give the community the opportunity to choose its own course instead of being forced to follow provincial regulations. It allows the city to be able to do things that are very focused, especially when we are talking about things like economic development, about land use and how we move forward as a city. Locke says the current legislative framework doesn't give Surrey the latitude it needs to make decisions for itself. But Locke says it's not just about giving Surrey more power. This is an opportunity for the province too to take a look at Surrey and take a look at Surrey as the economic engine and give us the strength and the power to be able to develop who we are as a very important economic engine for the entire province of British Columbia, she added. Surrey is just one of the many BC communities that recently pushed back against new provincial regulations around zoning and development. Surrey is set to become the biggest city by population in the province within the decade. Surrey will be the first city in British Columbia to hit 1 million people, she explained. We are certainly going to be the largest city in probably 3 short years, she said. So it's our time. Surrey City Council is set to meet to discuss the plan this evening.
ਸਿਟੀ ਆਫ ਸਰੀ ਦੀ ਮੇਅਰ ਨੇ ਸਪਸ਼ਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਸਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਚਾਰਟਰ ਦਾ ਅਧਿਕਾਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਾਵੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਫੈਸਲੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਡਿਵੈਲਪਮੈਂਟਲ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੀਆਂ ਲੋੜਾਂ ਦੇ ਮੁਤਾਬਕ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਖੁਦ ਅਖਤਿਆਰ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਜਾਣ ਔਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸਪਸ਼ਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ ਅਗਾਊਂ ਕੁਝ ਕੁ ਸਾਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੀ ਵਸੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ 1 ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਤੋਂ ਉੱਪਰ ਹੋ ਜਾਣੀ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੋੜੀਂਦੀਆਂ ਧਾਰ ਕੇ ਜਾਂ ਫੋਕਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਫੈਸਲੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਲੈ ਸਕੇ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਅੰਤ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਚਾਰਟਰ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਹੈ। ਦੇਖਣਾ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕੀ ਹੈ।
Tax, social media, a minefield for people going through divorce, says a lawyer. When Sarah Balby tells clients going through a divorce or locked in a custody battle that their text and social media posts might be put under microscope, she usually gets 1 or 2 responses. Often people are mortified, particularly in the face of any out of character messages, the Toronto family and divorce lawyer said. At other times they come armed with reams of text and other communications they believe demonstrate their former partner's misbehavior, she said. They say, see, you can see what she's doing or he's doing, said Balby, a partner at Balby Winberg LLP. It can be a minefield because it's no longer, she said. There's actually concrete evidence that can be recovered, digital evidence. As people's lives and relationships have increasingly shifted online over more than a decade, digital records such as text messages, emails, and Instagram posts have become a mainstay of divorce and family cases to the point where Ontario courts have had to impose limits on how much can be filed, experts say. Still, many people are unprepared for how their messages and posts may resurface in court, said Stephanie D. Federico, a family lawyer with Bortolosi Family Law in Vaughan, Ontario. Messages sent in the heat of the moment may later determine a key aspect of their case, said D. Federico, who encourages people undergoing separation to limit their texting and social media use. Their emotions will get the best of them and they will post and they will text something, and once that's sent, you can't undo it, she said. Parties oftentimes have very different narratives about the relationships, about the parenting issues, or about some of other important issues in their case, and these messages are a way to illustrate or to prove or to help support one person's position. Take, for example, a situation where one parent is arguing the other should have less parental time because of substance abuse, she said. The other parent may deny it, but if the social media paints a different picture, that's going to be impactful. Not only with the respect to their particular issue, but also has now negative impacted that person's credibility to the judge, she said. Text messages about salary, bonuses, and posts about lavish vacations can also be used to challenge claims about income in a child support dispute, she cited as another example. Sometimes the tone of the messages between exes is as important as content and can help gauge their ability to co-parent, said Laura Paris, an associate at Solomon and Partners LLP. If you're able to demonstrate that one person is incapable of making reasonable decisions, or every time you are trying to make a decision, they use it as an opportunity to, let's say, discuss the relationship, you can utilize those text messages in your court cases to demonstrate that they cannot co-parent effectively, she said. That can be used to seek sole decision-making ability, for example, she said. Often it's a communication that takes place after a couple has separated that takes center stage, but messages exchanged in the relationship prime can also play a role, Paris said. A judge likely won't give much weight to a heated conversation you had 5 years prior to separation, but texts involving financial information may still be relevant, she said. Balby said digital evidence from earlier in the relationships can sometimes help if one parent argues the other wasn't very involved in their child's day-to-day life. For example, if there are thousands of posts showing that parents at sports games and school events, or texts about scheduling healthcare appointments that indicate they were in fact actively involved. At times, there can be enormous amount of digital evidence, especially since each message needs to be presented in context, she said, that can cause delays or make legal costs balloon as low as pour over heaps of records to whittle them down to what's necessary, she said. Ontario courts have pushed back in recent years by restricting how much of this kind of evidence can be introduced, she noted. A provincial practice direction for Ontario's family code specifies that litigation shall not include voluminous texts, emails, or social media posting, but should stick to only the relevant and necessary excerpts from their communication. Paris said she's seen a rise in the use of digital evidence over her 8 years of practice, which she attributes partly to changes in technology and demographics. General acts and millennials are now at the age where they may be separating, she said. Compared to when I first started practicing, now the age group that I'm working with are technologically savvy. So we are seeing this type of evidence come up and more often, she said. While it's not practical to ask people to stop texting, they should be mindful when communicating, particularly after separation, she said, and just get off social media altogether, because that could really be a sticking point.
किस प्रकार सोशल मीडिया ते फोन दे उत्ते कीते ਜਿਹੜੇ ਟੈਕਸਟ ਮੈਸੇजेस ਨੇ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਭਾਰੀ ਪੈ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਲੱਗੀ ਹੋਵੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਪਾਰਟਨਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਕਸਟਡੀ ਦੇ ਮੁਤਲਕ ਜਾਂ ਫਾਈਨੈਂਸਿਸ ਦੇ ਮੁਤਲਕ ਝੂਠ ਬੋਲਣ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਵਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਖੇਤਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਬੜੀਆਂ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਇੱਕ ਵਕੀਲ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸਪਸ਼ਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਲਾਅ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਸ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਦੋਹਾਂ ਜੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਦਰਮਿਆਨ ਸਾਂਝੇ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੈਸੇजेस ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਵਰਤਿਆ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ, ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਗੁੱਸੇ ਦੀ ਅਵਸਥਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਯਕਦਮ ਗੁੱਸੇ 'ਚ ਕੁਝ ਨਾ ਕੁਝ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਨੂੰ ਬੋਲ ਕੇ, ਲਿਖ ਕੇ ਜਾਂ ਈਮੇਲ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਟੈਕਸਟ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਭੇਜਦੇ ਹੋ, ਉਹ ਕਿਸ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹ ਲੋਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਅਲੈਦਗੀ ਦੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਲੰਘ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਲਾਹ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਗੁੱਸੇ ਵਾਲੇ ਮਾਹੌਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਮਨ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਗੁੱਸਾ ਆਇਆ ਹੋਵੇ, ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਟੈਕਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਸੁਨੇਹਾ ਭੇਜਣਾ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਮੀਡੀਆ 'ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਪੋਸਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਾਉਣੀ ਆ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਗੁਰੇਜ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਵੇ, ਔਰ ਟੈਕਸਟ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹ ਸੋਚ ਸਮਝ ਕੇ ਲਿਖੇ ਜਾਣ।
Justin Trudeau may be in for an earful as he meets with caucus in BC. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau may be bracing for an earful from his caucus when Liberal MPs gather in Nanaimo, BC on Monday to plot their strategy for the coming election year. It will be the first time he faces them as a group since MPs departed Ottawa in the spring. Still stinging from a devastating by-election loss earlier this summer, the caucus is now also reeling from news that their national campaign director has resigned and the party can no longer count on NDP to stave off an early election. They should be giving the Prime Minister a rough ride, said strategist Ginny Roth, who served as director of the communications for Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's leadership campaign. She is skeptical they will, though. This is a caucus meeting that some of the caucus members demanded happen earlier this summer, and he basically told them to pound sand, and he's only getting around to it now, and they have just accepted that, she said. The governing Liberals found themselves in political freefall last summer, and despite efforts to refocus on key issues like housing and affordability, the polls have not moved back in their favor. Simmering calls for a new leader reached a new intensity earlier this summer when the Conservatives won over a long-time Liberal stronghold in a major by-election upset in Toronto St. Paul's. Trudeau held fast to his decision to lead the party into the next election and rejected calls to convene his caucus over the summer to respond to their concerns about their collective prospects. The Prime Minister has spoken with Liberals MPs on one-on-one over the last few months and attended several regional meetings ahead of the Nanaimo retreat, while several Liberals who don't feel comfortable speaking publicly says the meetings were positive. The Prime Minister has mainly held to the messages that he is simply focused on delivering for Canadians. Some hope to hear more about how he plans to win those Canadians back when he addresses his team this week. Former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney is also expected to address the group, long touted as a possible leadership successor to Trudeau. Carney will instead act as advisor to caucus on the economy and growth. The 3-day retreat is expected to include breakout meetings for the Indigenous, Rural and Women's caucuses.
ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਜਸਟਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਐਮਪੀਜ਼ ਦੀ ਅੱਜ ਤੋਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਣ ਵਾਲੀ 3 ਰੋਜ਼ਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਹੈ ਉਹ BC ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਜਸਟਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਾਫੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਲ ਸਵਾਲਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਹਮਣਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਪਏਗਾ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਐਮਪੀਜ਼ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਹੋਏਗਾ। याद रहे कि इस प्रकार लिबरल पार्टी ऑफ कैनेडा की शाख है जिहड़ी ओह उस दे विच डुबदी जा रही है और उन्होंने खुद ही पसंदीदा जिहड़ी दर है वो दिन प्रतिदिन घटती जा रही है। इस दे बारे देखना यह बनता कि इस दे विच रिजल्ट की कढ़िया जाएगा, खास तौर ते इस रुत दे विच इन्हां हालातां दे विच जदों कि NDP पार्टी ने भी अपना जिहड़ा समर्थन वाला पौड़ी है वो खिंच लई है और नैशनल पार्टी की नैशनल कैंपेन के चेयर ने भी अपने रुखसत हो जाने की जिहड़ी डेट आ वो निर्धारित कर दी है। इस दे विच बेशक विरोधी धिर का कहना है कि ये उम्मीद है जिहड़ी मंग की जा रही सी कि प्रधानमंत्री जस्टिन ट्रूडो पार्टी के मुखी वजों अपने आप को लांभे कर लैन, पर उन्होंने फिर भी अपने आप को उस स्थान पर रखने के लिए बरकरार रखने के लिए गल कही सी। याद रहे इत्थे गल इस दे जिक्र दा भी आउंदे आ कि लिबरल पार्टी ऑफ कैनेडा के भावी वक्तां दे विच मुखी जिहड़े ने वो कौन हो सकते हैं। जी हाँ, आर्थिक ढांचे दे विच सुरक्षित ते सोची समझ रखने वाले जिहड़े व्यक्ति ने वो भी इस रिट्रीट दे विच शामिल हो रहे हैं।
इसी के साथ हमें इजाजत दीजिएगा। खबरां दा लेखा जोखा प्रोग्राम से अंटिल नेक्स्ट टाइम, गुड बाय एंड बी सेफ।